As regular GBH viewers and listeners know, I've attempted to champion a lot of causes with limited success, like year-round daylight saving time, mandatory helmets for cyclists, and at the top of the list, a 4-day work week. Though I'm pretty close to that goal, working only 4.5 myself now. IMHO, a shorter work week, I'm talking 4 8-hour days, by the way. It would ease anxieties, increase flexibility, improve the work-life balance, as entrepreneur Andrew Barnes told me back in 2020 after he implemented a trial run at his own company.
Productivity went up about 25–30%, stress levels dropped 15%, the engagement scores went up 40%, and more people said they could do their job better in 4 days rather than 5. The trial indicated that our staff worked better and we got more productivity.
But was Barnes' firm an outlier or the norm? A recent study organized by 4-Day Workweek Global and inspired by Barnes attempts to answer the question. The study was a collaboration between 3 universities, one of which was BC, Boston College. Juliet Shor was the trial's lead researcher, professor of sociology at BC. She joins me now along with Jon Leland. He's the chief strategy officer for Kickstarter, a crowdfunding site that participated in the trial. Juliet, Jon, it's good to see you both. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Juliet,
thank you for having me.
Thank you. Could you describe the pilot, the construct, the rules of the road in this effort?
So we recruited companies for a 6-month pilot, and to join it, what they had to do was preserve 5 days of pay, so full pay, and a meaningful reduction in work time. The vast majority of them went to a 4-day week. There were a couple who had very long hours, and so they sort of reduced those, didn't get all the way down to 32, but also important to emphasize that point you just made, which was this is not a 4 10-hour day schedule, it's 4 8-hour days. And so we did two months of coaching and mentoring and helping these companies reorganize work, and then they went into the 6-month trial, and my team did a before and after research design, assessing how people were before the trial started and then at the very end.
Juliet, how'd you pick the companies?
Anyone who wanted to join pretty much was allowed. So we did info sessions, and it was they're self-selected, which of course
doesn't that skew it in the direction of those who'd be more amenable to doing it? Did that concern you?
Absolutely. It doesn't concern me. It's just the fact of life. It's very hard to get companies to do something that they don't want to do. So we're hoping that eventually we'll be able to enlist companies in a more randomized trial, but because we don't have the power to change companies' schedules, we can never get a truly random.
Got it.
Random experiment.
One last thing, Juliet, before I go to Jon, let's go to the end of the book and eliminate all the suspense. Give us a sentence on what the outcomes were on both the employee and the employer side.
Fantastic positive outcomes on both. Companies are extremely happy. Revenue went up. They rated the trial a 9.0 on a scale of 0 to 10. Employees rated it a 9.1, but across the board, pretty much all of the metrics that we were hoping would show improvement: stress, anxiety, physical health, mental health, fatigue, life satisfaction, time satisfaction, work-family conflict, sleep problems, exercise, etc. All pretty much off the charts positive.
First time I've smiled in weeks, Juliet, I want you to know. Jon, why did you buy into this thing? Why did Kickstarter want to be part of this?
Yeah, I mean, we saw the same research, including Andrew Barnes' company's experience with this, and there was already enough evidence that suggested that companies like Kickstarter can make this transition and maintain or increase productivity. So we sort of looked at it. We were already rethinking the future of work. Everything obviously got upended with the pandemic. We moved to fully remote, and this was part of that transition that we wanted to make.
Were the outcomes for Kickstarter analogous to the ones Juliet just described across the board?
Yeah, absolutely. We saw increased employee engagement, happier, less stressed out employees. Productivity overall is higher than it's ever been. In part, that's because employees are better rested. They're more focused, they're more engaged, but it's also because we're just retaining our employees better. We're faster to hire. And for a relatively small company, we're 100 people, anytime we lose a person or can't hire fast enough, it's actually a huge drag on our productivity. So the way it's helped on the individual level, but also on the sort of whole organizational level as well.
Juliet, do you think there's anything more to the major concern that I've heard through the years about this, from almost exclusively from employers, was we're sacrificing productivity. You didn't see that at all. You heard Jon's explanation as to why he thinks it went up. Do you buy that, or is there even more to it?
I do buy it. I'm not saying that every workplace can do this,
Sure.
but what these companies were able to do was sort of get rid of a lot of dysfunctional practice. Meetings were a big part of how they reorganized work. People became more focused, less distracted, and sort of more eager to get things done. Employees reported from the beginning to the end, their self-reports of their work ability went up a lot. And this other point that Jon mentioned is really key.
What's that?
Many employers these days are having trouble retaining people and attracting people. And this is a huge benefit in today's labor market.
Can I add one more thing into this mix I don't think either of you have mentioned? Here's more of Andrew Barnes from when he joined me a couple of years ago, talking about another, I think, huge benefit important to people, particularly right now.
If you did this in the United States, it would be the equivalent of taking 10.5 million cars off the road every year.
There's clearly a huge environmental benefit, Juliet, no?
Yes. So we haven't quantified all of the environmental questions that we asked. We did find a reduction in the fraction of people who are commuting to work by car. People spending about an hour less a week commuting. So Andrew's absolutely right. We also wanted to see if there would be any sort of blowback impacts, like people traveling a lot more, and that looks like it's not the case. No increase in domestic travel at all, and we need to do a seasonality correction, which we're still working on for the international. But the sort of energy and climate questions that we asked are all pointing in a good direction.
Jon, do you have any idea what your workers did on that 5th day that they weren't able to do before?
Sure. I mean, a lot of them spent time with their kids, who we have a lot of young.
I remember that.
Young parents at our company. And so just giving back this like really precious time to spend time with their family. You know, our mission is to help bring creative projects to life. We have a lot of employees who started up their own creative projects. Personally, I've been working on the 4-day work week on my 5th day.
You know, staying with you, Jon, for 1 second. See, I'm trying to think of what the negatives are. I've never been able to understand, especially if productivity goes up, revenue goes up, that sort of thing. The one downside, it seems to me, is one of the best parts about coming to work when people do come to work is the socialization thing. Not just for personal good things to happen, but it's sort of that collaborative thing lifts all proverbial boats, does it not? Is that missed, or is there enough of it in 4 days to capture what I'm talking about, Jon?
Yeah, there's enough of it in 4 days. And I think in a lot of respects, it's better supported in 4 days because we're more focused and people are more aligned in those, or when they are collaborating, everyone is rested in there and focused, as opposed to some people are kind of in it and energized and some people are kind of burnt out and tired. That's actually much more difficult to work with an organization. And we also want to give people back time to have community and connections with their neighbors. And you know, we're lacking some civic engagement in this country that we could build back in by giving people back some more time.
You know, Juliet, I assumed that the answer Jon was going to give me was all the answers he gave me. You know, time to do errands, doctor's appointments, time with kids, etc. I thought you say somewhere that the vast majority of saved time from this, for example, I guess the best expression is pilot, is people slept almost all of it. Was I not right about that?
That's not right. We had some preliminary results on sleep, which haven't held up with the second trial. But the biggest thing that people did in the off day is sort of leisure activities. So hobbies, or we had an increase in volunteering. So some of the kinds of things that Jon's talking about. Second was housework and taking care of family members, and third was personal maintenance. So that there could be a little bit of sleep in there if people are napping.
But it's not at the volume that it was early on. You know, Juliet, staying with you 1 second, I want to show you a poll that I'm sure will not be a surprise to you. This is from August of 2021 of American workers, an Ipsos poll. Do you support a 4-day work week? To the surprise of nobody, at least not me, 70% yes, 9% no. My reaction to that is how pathetic it is that we needed a pandemic for employers to be willing to take a risk like hybrid work, for a larger number of employers to be willing to look at a 4-day work week. Was it fear? Was it we stay with what we came to the party with? Why do we need a pandemic to start looking at these things?
Well, Jim, I mean, I think you can say this about a lot of things in the American workplace. I think our employers are, you know, they've got wrong opinions about unions and work time schedules, about, you know, all sort of pay, all sorts of things. We really need a stronger labor movement to help employers see that things really can be different. And when things are better for workers, they're also better for bosses.
So let's end with a Nostradamus moment from both of you, starting with you, Jon. So how far is this going to spread, this movement that you're very happy with, and apparently every employer Juliet worked with was happy with? Is this the office of the future? I know there's some exceptions, obviously, but is this the workplace of the future?
Increasingly, I do believe so. And you think about, look at the AI advancements that are coming out kind of every week now. We need to find a different way to work, and we should be capturing these gains to give people back time in their lives. I think this will happen over the next decade.
Juliet, how about you?
I think we're evolving to it, you know, maybe too slowly, but one of the things that makes me think that is, think about what's happening Fridays in the summer. Fewer and fewer people in the office, and I think it's just the beginning of a kind of snowball effect.
Well, from your two lips to every employer's ears, Juliet Shor, Jon Leland, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.